of the structure. And the demolition is very intentional. In a concerted effort over a 55-minute period, they'll ultimately manage to demolish the entire gymnasium.
The entire or the entire right side?
All of the right side and the left side will be dropped to the ground, as you will see. He's begun to tear out this corner of the wall, as you can see here, the eastern wall. The dog run is now dropped lower in elevation near to the ground, and as we progress you'll see that this entire structure has been dropped to the floor.
The dog run ends in Koresh's bedroom?
The dog run passes through Koresh's bedroom at this point and through a stairwell directly down into the chapel. The dog run has no doors or windows along this portion of it, except for a window at the very end of the dog run. So that structure, even in its collapsed condition, as we can see here, has maintained its integrity, its basic structural integrity, even though it's dropped to the ground. Now at this point we see the tank at the southwest corner, and supposedly this tank, according to Paul Gray, the fire expert, who lied about this situation on a Nightline segment, this was the last contact of a tank with the building, according to Paul Gray. But of course, in the meantime, we have this tank back here that's continuing its demolition activities on the gym. Everything they do publicly points away from, either by omission or by commission of a lie, away from the gymnasium. They did not want people looking, noticing, or observing what was going on there. Again, there is that heat plume appearance in Koresh's bedroom window. But that's facing south. So that window would be facing south, would be reflecting the sunlight coming in.
Well, or the room would be warm.
And or the room would be warm, but not indicative of a fire. Now, the tank here is beginning to back away and is getting ready to leave the scene, and that's where Mr. Gray said that was the last contact of the tank with the building. Right here, he's leaving. Okay? However, we will see our tank with its nose buried back here in the back wall, and that'll continue for some time to come. You see this dark rectangle in the end of the dog run? That is the dog run window. Now the dog run itself has twisted as it has fallen down. There is a still photo that you should keep in mind. There's probably a series of them that was taken from Sierra 2 down in this location down here from the ground of the back of the gymnasium in this condition. I suspect we may even have a sequence of photos showing what we're going to be seeing in the infrared taken from the ground at that location. So, again, we have the tank gone from here. The tank at the back of the gymnasium is continuing its demolition activity, even though Mr. Gray pointed out on television publicly that that was the last contact. At this point, we do have a fire underway in the southwest corner, second story.
Did you see smoke on the corner there?
In the hallway. No, that was the flag you're seeing right there. The flag flapping in the breeze. There is a fire underway at this time in the southwest corner in the hallway. What you're going to see when we come around the view to this, looking in this corner, is the second story window, this window right here. You'll see a heat plume develop in it, which is the first indication of a fire. Now this tank is pulling away from the back wall. Right here. You see the heat plume in the window.
Second story.
Second story. And that fire began, we believe, from a lantern being knocked down from the demolition activity of the tank only moments before.
That's a three-story.
It is a three-story tower. Now, we'll want to keep a close eye on this window right here in the end of the dog run.
Is this tank about to pull away? Has he been told to pull away?
No, he hasn't.
He's still working.
Keep watching. In about 10 seconds, keep an eye on this window.
Which window? There it is. The start.
It's right here. It's very demonstrable. You won't miss it. There.
Boom. Flash.
It's a repetitive flash. It's an intense initial flash that fills the full area. From the appearances of it, it's taking place inside of the structure, not on the surface of the window. And then, of course, our cursor comes on and paints that subject, indicating that they saw it too. Notice there's a heat plume right here in the rubble at the base of the dog run, and the heat indices, the coloration of the dog run itself is turned brighter and brighter, we'll now see the fire here with this smoky, actually it's heat, and then heat here, and they notice that. And there's also, we should back it up for a second.
Right. Oh, there it is.
We're going to back it up.
Everyone.
Early on, it's important to note, Dr. Quinteri shows the fire in the dining room breaking out at 12:08:48. All right, now
46, 47, 48.
we've had our fire break out here. Heat plume here, heat indices change here. Watch over here on this edge of the screen, right at the base of the 4-story tower. Right there.
Yeah.
You see that? That's fire in the dining room area.
That's the one he was speaking.
There's fire here as well.
Right.
But the important thing to note is the time sequence. The flash fire moved from here and through the core of the building and up through here, setting off all these fires on the interior.
So the flash happened well before 12:48.
It did. It had happened at 12:08:30,
Fine.
about 18 seconds before.
Fine. Okay, go on.
Now the fire is showing and progressing out the front, and when we come around from this view, we'll look at the back of the tower and see that it's fully engulfed. But notice, the gymnasium is not engaged at this time.
It's not on fire.
No. And the reason is because this fire will feed back through this area into and underneath the damage. There's the fire at the back of the dining room, right there. And the fire will move itself. You can see it's in the chapel here as well.
Right.
And it's moving backwards by way of the wind pushing through the building, and it's coming back here into the rubble under the collapsed portion of the roof. When we come back around here in full view, you'll see the fire break out in this area at the base of the dog run coming from underneath the roof.
You had pointed out that the dog run was increasing in heat shortly after that flash.
And now it's not.
So
there's the fire breaking out from the chapel area into the gymnasium area, right there.
So what you're saying is that the dog run heated up and then cooled down.
It appears to be so in the infrared. And the thesis is that the dog run acted like a flue, which is the German pronunciation of the word with the double dots over, I believe it's the U or the E or something like that. And the literal translation of that is fire pipe. So it acted like a conduit or a pipe where the flash fire that was witnessed by Derek Lovelock, created by the detonation of the flashbang device, then that's it, and I'm still talking to the tape. The flashbang device detonated or ignited the CS gas and methylene chloride material. Derek Lovelock heard the device go off and saw the fireball that proceeded from the detonation at that point.
Where was he?
He was in the back of the chapel looking over the parapet wall separating the chapel from the gymnasium, halfway up the staircase into Koresh's bedroom.
Oh, okay. So he was right next to you. You would have seen it essentially go by him.
In essence.
One thing I wanted to point out.
Actually, it didn't go by him. What happened was, in essence, it didn't go by him. He and Scott Zanobi saw it. Scott did not survive the fire. They saw it coming and ducked into the immediately adjacent small recording dubbing room next to the chapel, at the back of the end of the chapel, and avoided the consequences of the fireball that passed immediately outside the room they were in.
So they were inside the room when it happened?
They were inside the room as the fireball reached their position. They observed it coming towards them and took cover. They didn't have to run very far, just a matter of a step or two.
Go back to the flash.
We're coming up on the flash in the dog run, the end of the dog run that's right here.
Right. And
now you'll see flashes down in this area.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Some down
and
there.
It's a piece of material blowing. Don't forget, there's a 25 to 30 mile per hour wind blowing here.
Yeah.
Okay. Right here in this dog run, keep an eye on it. There it goes. Okay, and it was on the interior, and they put the cursor on it.
Yeah. It's enough to put the cursor on.
And they put it on.
See that little black dot right there?
Yes.
It's right at that black dot.
Yeah, and it's probably a piece of plastic.